The great throne hall of the Zerion Empire was silent at first, then filled with cruel laughter. Hundreds of alien warriors stood around the circular hall, their armor shining under the blue firelights. In the center, a human soldier captain, Elias Ward, stood alone. He was surrounded by aliens who were taller, stronger, and clearly enjoyed watching him feel small. But Elias didn't look scared. He simply watched the throne where King Vorez, the ruler of the Zerion, sat with a smile that never reached his eyes. The king finally spoke, his voice echoing, "Human, you come here speaking of peace. You come here asking for alliance. But I ask you, can a weak creature lead anything?" More laughter, more mocking. Elias stayed calm. The king raised a hand. "Perhaps you need a gift. Something to show your race its real place." A guard hit a gong. A back door opened. The hall fell silent. A young alien girl stepped forward. She was thin, trembling, her eyes fixed on the ground. Her silver hair looked dull, and her skin glowed only faintly, far less than any royal blood should. She moved like every step hurt. Whispers started. "She's the failed princess. The broken daughter. She can't even use her power. What a shame to the royal family." The king stood, spreading his arms dramatically. "This," he announced, "is Princess Lyra, my daughter." Then he laughed coldly. "She is weak, a disappointment, a cracked gem, worthless to the throne." Elias felt a strange tightness in his chest. This was not a joke. This was cruelty. The king pointed at Elias. "And because humans love hopeless causes here, take her. She is yours." The hall exploded with laughter. Some aliens even clapped. The princess flinched, as if the noise itself hurt her. Elias looked at her more carefully. Her hands shook. Her breaths were uneven. Her eyes stayed down as if she expected to be hit for even existing. He took a slow step toward her. The laughing suddenly stopped. Even the king frowned. Elias went down on one knee so he was not towering over her. His voice was steady, soft. "My name is Elias. I will not harm you." Lyra's eyes lifted for a second, just a second, but in that moment, Elias saw something no one else seemed to notice. A tiny glow inside her pupils. Not weak, not broken, just locked. Suddenly, the king shouted, annoyed, "Enough! Take her and leave. She is your burden now. Enjoy the joke." The guards pushed Elias forward, forcing him to take Lyra by the arm. But he gently moved their hands away and instead offered his own hand to her, softly, respectfully. She hesitated. Then, as if she had run out of strength to resist life itself, she placed her trembling hand in his. The hall echoed with one final round of mocking laughter as the doors closed behind them. Outside the Pialeski, the hallway was quiet. Only their footsteps echoed. Lyra finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "You didn't laugh." "I don't laugh at pain," Elias said. She hugged her arms around herself, like she was trying to hide. "They call me broken," she said. "I can't even control my own power. I burn things. I destroy things. My father hates me because I am dangerous." Elias stopped walking. "Dangerous?" Lyra nodded shakily, tears in her eyes. "My power is unstable. I hurt people without meaning to. Once the ground exploded under me. A whole valley burned. Since then, he calls me weak. But he fears me." Elias understood immediately. She was not weak. She was powerful, terrifyingly powerful, but untrained. A raw storm, a weapon sealed inside fear. Lyra whispered, "You should leave me behind. I only bring harm." Elias shook his head. "No, someone just needs to teach you how to control it." She froze. "No one trains me." Her voice cracked. "No. One comes near me. I'm here," Elias said softly. "And I don't fear you." She stared at him like he was insane. "Why? Everyone fears me." "Because I saw something," he replied, "when you looked at me." It wasn't weakness. It was someone fighting alone. Lyra's breath caught in her throat, that no one had ever said such words to her. But before she could answer, a deep tremor shook the hallway. The pillars shivered. Dust fell from the ceiling. A distant explosion echoed from the throne hall. Lyra gasped, stepping closer to Elias. "They are here," she whispered. "Who?" Elias asked, instinctively reaching for his weapon. Lyra's voice shook as she answered. "The hunters. They want my power. They have been waiting for me to leave the palace." Another explosion. Another scream from inside. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter fear, mixing with something else. A spark, a flicker. A rising storm she could not hold. Back. Elias stepped in front of her. "It's okay," he said. "You're not alone now." Lyra's glowing eyes locked on him. That moment only a heartbeat long became. The beginning of something the entire galaxy would one day talk about. The day a human decided to protect a broken alien princess. And the day her real power began to awaken. Princess Lyra had never walked beside anyone before. She always walked behind people, or far away from them. But now, as the palace shook from distant explosions, she stayed close to Elias, almost hiding behind him. Elias moved forward carefully, scanning the long corridor. The blue flame lamps flickered. Dust fell from the tall ceiling. The ground vibrated again. Lyra whispered, "They are getting closer." Elias looked at her. "Who are they?" She swallowed hard. "They call themselves Void Reapers. They hunt rare power. They want the energy inside me, the part one can't control." Her voice cracked. "If they take it, I will die." Elias stepped in front of her without thinking. He didn't know her well. He didn't even understand her power. But something inside him moved, a simple truth. No one deserves to be hunted for something they cannot control. A loud metallic growl echoed from the shadows ahead. Lyra froze. That is one of them." A tall figure stepped out from the darkness. Its body was armored like a machine but moved like a beast. Its eyes glowed red, scanning the corridor. "Target located," the creature said in a cold mechanical voice. "Princess Lyra, unstable core detected, securing subject." Lyra's whole body trembled. Her hands began to glow, light shaking. Like a candle in a storm. No, please," she held her arms as if trying to stop the power from escaping. Elias stepped toward the creature. Back away from her. The Void Reaper's red eyes focused on him. Human life form detected. Weak. Irrelevant. It moved forward. Elias charged before it could finish. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the fastest. But he was trained, disciplined, and brave. He slammed into the machine beast, knocking it back. Sparks flew. The Reaper swung a metal arm, smashing Elias into a wall. But Elias got up again. Lyra gasped. "And no, you cannot fight them. They are stronger than the royal guards." Elias wiped blood from his lip. "I'm not stronger," he said. "But I don't run." The Reaper aimed its arm at Lyra. A glowing red net of energy shot out. Lyra panicked. Her glow exploded. A shockwave burst from her body, shaking the entire hall. Doors slammed open. Glass windows shattered. Flames flickered violently. Elias was thrown backward, but crawled up again. Squinting through the bright light, Lyra was on her knees, breathing fast, terrified. "I didn't mean to. I can't control it." The Reaper staggered back, damaged but still active. It spoke again. "Princess power output rising. Dangerous level. Capture now," Lyra screamed. "Stay away." And suddenly, Elias realized something. Every time she used her power, she wasn't trying to attack. She was trying to stop herself. She wasn't dangerous. She was scared. Elias called to her through the chaos. "Lyra, look at me." Her glowing eyes flicked toward him. "You're not broken," Elias said firmly. You just don't know how to use your power. I'll guide you. Lyra stared at him, confused. You don't fear me? No, Elias said. You shake because you're scared, not because you're weak. The words hit her like a warm wave. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had understood the difference. Her breathing slowed. Her glow steadied. For the first time in her life, the light didn't explode. The Reaper roared and charged again. Elias shouted, Lyra! Focus the light. Aim it. I can't. Yes, you can. I'm right here. And for the first time ever, she tried. She raised her shaking hand. The glow became a thin beam. It hit the Reaper's chest, and the machine staggered backward. Armor cracking. Lyra gasped. I did it. Elias smiled despite the danger. Yes, you did. Again, she focused, this time with more control. The beam grew stronger, clean, sharp, stable. The Reaper burned from the inside and collapsed. In a pile of smoking metal, Lyra stood frozen, staring at her own glowing hands. I controlled it? Elias nodded. You just needed someone who believed in you. Lyra looked down, tears forming. For the first time, I don't feel like a curse. Elias stepped beside her. You're not a curse. You're a weapon of light, and together we're going to make sure no one uses you again. But before they could breathe, 3 more Void Reapers appeared in the distance. Lyra's glow flickered again. Elias tightened his grip on his weapon. This time, he didn't stand in front of her. He stood next to her. Ready? He asked. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with new courage. For the first time, yes. The smoke from the destroyed Void Reaper still drifted in the hallway. Lyra stood silently, her glowing hands slowly dimming. She wasn't shaking now, she was just confused. Confused. And scared of her own success. Elias noticed her expression. You did great, he said gently. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she looked at the broken metal monster on the ground, as if trying to understand how she could have done that. I controlled it, she whispered. But why now? Why only with you? Before Elias could answer, another tremor shook the palace. They needed to move. He placed a hand on her shoulder, but she flinched, stepping back instantly. Don't. Please, she whispered. Elias lowered his hand immediately. It's okay, I won't touch you unless you want me to. Lyra's eyes softened for a moment. That small gesture for her felt huge. They walked deeper into the quiet corridors. This part of the palace looked abandoned. Dust covered the floor. Old banners hung torn on the walls. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the ancient stone. Lyra kept glancing at Elias like she wanted to say something, but didn't know how. Finally, Elias broke the silence. Lyra, I need to understand your power. What exactly happened in the valley? Her steps slowed. Her breathing changed. She hugged her arms around herself, as if trying to hold the memory down. It wasn't my fault, she whispered. I was 8 years old. Elias looked at her carefully, giving her time. Lyra continued. The king my father wanted to test my gift. A royal child's power reveals itself early. He took me to the valley. He wanted to see how strong I was. Her voice cracked. Tears filled her eyes, but she kept speaking. He told me to release my energy, to show him my glow. I was scared, but he shouted at me. He said I was slow, so I tried. She took a shaking breath, and everything exploded. Elias's eyes softened. Lyra pointed at a scar glowing faintly on her wrist. This mark appeared. That day, it's a seal. When I lose control, the seal forces the power inside me. But it hurts, like fire under my skin. She shivered. The valley burned. The air cracked. Buildings fell. People screamed. Her voice became small, as if she shrank into the memory, and my father didn't look scared for me. He looked scared of me. Elias clenched his jaw. So he called you weak to hide the truth? Elias asked. Lyra nodded. He told the kingdom I was born broken, that my power was useless. But the truth is... She hesitated. Elias waited. My power is too strong, too dangerous, too rare. Kings in the past killed their own children for less. Her voice broke, so he made me a shameful secret instead, a daughter he could pretend didn't exist. Elias felt anger burning in his chest. Not at her. Never at her. At the king. At the cruelty. At the loneliness she carried. They reached an old training hall. The doors were half broken. The room smelled like dust and old memories. Metal dummies stood in the corners, burned and cracked as if someone had attacked them long ago. Lyra stopped at the entrance. This is where they tried to train me once, she whispered. Elias scanned the room. Did it help? Lyra smiled sadly. They didn't train me, they tested me. They wanted to see when I would break. She walked inside slowly, touching a melted dummy. When I couldn't control the attack, the room exploded. Everyone ran. After that, they locked this place. Elias stepped beside her. Lyra, he said gently, they didn't teach you. They only hurt you. She lowered her head. That's why I stay quiet. That's why I keep my hands close. I don't want to explode again. I don't want to burn anyone. Elias looked at her glowing scars. You won't burn me. Lyra's eyes widened. How do you know? Because I trust you, Elias said simply. Lyra stared at him. No one had ever said that to her. Not once in her life. Suddenly, the ground shook again. A deep metallic roar echoed through the corridors. Lyra stiffened. The Void Reapers. More are coming. Elias looked toward the sound. How many? Lyra's voice weakened. 12. Maybe more. They can sense my energy. Elias placed a hand on his chest. Then we'll stop them. Lyra shook her head fiercely. No. If I fight, I could. You won't lose control, Elias said firmly. Not this time. Not while I'm here. Lyra stared at him. His calm voice. His steady eyes. Something inside her shifted. Not fear. Not panic. Something warmer. Something new. Trust. Slowly, she nodded. Teach me, she whispered. I want to control it, properly this time. Elias smiled gently. Then let's begin your first real training. But before they could start, a dark shape crawled across the ceiling above them. Red eyes opened like burning coals. A void Reaper scout. Lyra's breath froze. Elias raised his weapon. The creature hissed. Subject located. 12 units approaching. Capture immediately. Elias whispered, Lyra, stay behind me. But she didn't single quotes T. This time. For the first time, she stepped forward. Her hands glowed, not shakily, but with steady rising light. I'm done running, she whispered. Her eyes burned with courage, and a new chapter of her life began. The Void Reaper scout crawled across the ceiling like a dark insect. Its red eyes glowed brighter as its metallic claws clicked on the stone. Lyra inhaled sharply, but this time she did not hide behind Elias. She stood in front of him. Elias watched her closely. Her glow was steady, her breathing calm. Her shoulders normally shaking were now firm. Something inside her had changed. The scout hissed. Energy levels rising. Subject unstable. Capture before full output. Lyra raised her hands slowly. Elias stepped beside her, whispering, Remember what we practiced. Small breath. Focus on one point. Let the power move through you, not against you. Lyra nodded, her silver hair floating slightly as the energy built. The scout leapt from the ceiling fast. Sharp, deadly. Lyra's eyes widened. Lyra, focus the beam. Elias shouted. She thrust her hand forward, expecting a wild explosion. But instead, a clean, thin beam shot from her palm. Controlled, precise. It hit the creature mid-air, throwing it back into the wall with a metallic scream. The stone cracked under the impact. Lyra gasped. I didn't. Explode, Elias grinned. No, you controlled it. But there was no time to celebrate. A deep, rhythmic pounding echoed through the hall. Boom. Boom. The sound of many metal feet. Lyra's glow flickered. They're coming, she whispered. All of them, Elias nodded. Then we train fast. The training begins, like never before. Elias pulled her toward the center of the old training hall. Burned dummies stood like ghosts from her past failures. Except this time, Elias wasn't leaving her to fail. He stood behind her, guiding her voice. Lyra, listen carefully. Your power isn't fire. It's energy. It wants direction. She looked at her glowing hands. But I've never directed it before. Then, learn now, Elias said softly. Start with breathing. He placed his hand near her shoulder, but not touching, just guiding. Keep your breath slow. Power follows your breath. Lyra inhaled. The glow softened. Good. Now pick a target. She pointed at a cracked metal dummy. Elias stepped to the side. Try a small pulse. Just enough to push it. Lyra concentrated. A gentle blue-white pulse shot out. The dummy moved a little. Lyra smiled, small but real. I did it. And you can do more, Elias said. They moved to the next step. Now try shaping the beam. Don't let it flare. Keep it narrow. Lyra raised her hands. A beam formed thin as a thread cutting a clean line. Across the dummy's chest, metal hissed. The dummy cracked in half. Lyra stared in awe. I'm not afraid, she whispered. Exactly, Elias said. You're not dangerous. You're powerful. And power needs calm, not fear. For the first time in her life, she believed him. But training time runs. You to pounding grew louder. Boom. Boom. Then, the doors of the training hall blasted open. 12 Void Reapers marched inside, red eyes burning like evil stars. Lyra's heart raced. Elias stepped in front of her, but she grabbed his arm. No, she whispered. We fight together. Elias nodded slowly. All right then. Side by side. The Reapers formed a circle around them. Subject Lyra, one announced. Your unstable power is required. Surrender or be terminated. Lyra lifted her chin. Not unstable. The Reapers prepared their weapons. Lyra leaned closer to Elias. Tell me what to do. Elias whispered calmly. Remember your training. Don't blast everything. Choose one target. And focus. Lyra breathed in. Her glow brightened, this time not wild but sharp. She pointed at one Reaper. A perfectly aimed beam fired. Clean, bright. Controlled. It hit the Reaper directly in the chest, blowing a hole straight through the armor. The machine collapsed instantly. Elias smiled proudly. One down. Lyra didn't smile. Her eyes were fierce now. 11 to go. The fight begins. A princess Elias. Elias fought with pure human speed, dodging metal claws, striking weak points, slashing wires. Lyra fought with light beams, pulses, controlled blasts. She wasn't shaking now. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't hiding. She was becoming herself. Energy danced around her hands like glowing ribbons. Every attack was cleaner than the last. Every beam sharper. Elias shouted instructions. Left, aim lower, beam narrow. Lyra followed perfectly. 2 more Reapers fell, then 3. Her breathing grew stronger, not weaker. She wasn't a curse. She wasn't a danger. She was powerful, and now she was trained. Finally, after a fierce battle, the last Reaper fell to the floor, sparks flying. Silence filled the hall. Lyra looked at her hands, still glowing, but gentle. I did it, Elias nodded, catching his breath. You didn't just do it. You controlled everything. Lyra stepped closer to him. For the first time, she whispered, I feel like I have a future. But before Elias could answer, a deep, cold voice echoed from the shattered doorway. I see you've grown bold, daughter. Lyra's face froze. Elias turned sharply. There stood King Vorez, eyes glowing with anger and fear, and behind him, an army. The huge training hall fell into dead silence as King Vorez stepped inside. His royal armor glowed bright red, reflecting the sparks from the fallen Void Reapers scattered across the floor. Behind him, rows of elite alien soldiers marched in, silent, disciplined, and far stronger than the previous Reapers. Lyra's glowing hands slowly dimmed. Her breathing grew tight, not because of the soldiers, but because of him, her father, the other man who called her weak, dangerous, broken. Elias stepped slightly in front of her, just enough to shield her without blocking her view. King Vorez's eyes narrowed. Move aside, human. Elias didn't move. I said, the king repeated, voice cold and sharp. Step away from my daughter. Elias held his ground. No, the room gasped. Even the soldiers hesitated. No one ever told the king no. Vorez's jaw tightened. You dare disobey me in my own kingdom? Elias kept his voice calm. I'm not disobeying. I'm protecting someone who never deserved your cruelty. Lyra's heart dropped. No one had ever spoken to her father like this. The king's aura darkened. You speak boldly for a creature with no power. Elias smiled slightly. Wrong. I have something stronger than power. The king raised a brow. And what is that? Elias nodded toward Lyra. I believe in her. Lyra's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. No one, not even once in her whole life, had ever said those words. The king's expression twisted. You think belief will protect you? You think this fragile child is strong? Lyra lowered her head in shame, but Elias stepped closer to her. She isn't fragile, he said. She fought your hunters. She won. And she didn't lose control. The soldiers looked at each other in shock. The king's eyes flicked to the destroyed Reapers around them. And for the first time, something like fear flashed in his gaze. You trained her? He asked, voice colder. Elias nodded. Double quotes, yes, and she improved. Lyra whispered softly, I wanted to learn, father. Her voice was gentle, hopeful. A daughter, wanting approval, even from a cruel parent. But the king didn't soften. Instead, he laughed a deep, bitter, mocking laugh. You improved? He repeated, impossible. Everything you touch breaks. You are a disaster wrapped in royal skin. Lyra flinched as if struck. Elias's fists clenched. He stepped forward. Say that again. Elias said quietly. The soldiers raised their weapons. But the king lifted a hand, stopping them. He walked toward Elias slowly, his voice sharp like a blade. You think she is strong because she controlled her power for a few minutes? She is a bomb. She is a mistake. Lyra's lip trembled. Her glow flickered unstable. Elias quickly moved closer to her and whispered, Lyra, breathe. Don't let his words control your power. You control it. She inhaled shakily. The glow steadied. King Vorez stared confused. How did you? Elias interrupted. Because you never tried. You never trained her. You feared her. The king froze. Hit directly at his deepest truth. The soldiers murmured. Lyra looked up for the first time, eyes shining not with shame, but with rising courage. You feared me? She whispered. King Vorez's jaw tightened. Lyra took a step forward. You let me believe I was weak, so no one would know you couldn't control me. Vorez's expression cracked for a second, shock, then anger. You will not speak to me like. Lyra's glow increased. I burned the valley when I was 8. Lyra said, voice trembling but strong. I was a child, father, a scared child. And you left me alone with my fear. Elias placed a steadying hand near her shoulder, guiding her breath again. Lyra continued, louder. You weren't protecting the kingdom. You were protecting yourself. Gasps filled the hall. The king roared, Enough. He pointed at Elias. You, human. You put these ideas in her head. Elias looked him straight in the eyes. No, he said softly. These ideas were always there. You just never let her speak. The king's face burned with fury. He raised his hand, energy crackling. A royal strike. He aimed at Elias. Lyra gasped. No. Before the king could release the attack, Lyra stepped in front of Elias. Her glow exploded, not in panic, not wild, but powerful and controlled. A shimmering shield of pure light formed around her and Elias. The king's attack hit the shield and shattered like glass. Silenced. Everyone froze. Lyra stood tall, breathing slow, glow steady. Eyes calm. Not broken, not weak, not dangerous. Just powerful. And in full control. The king staggered a step back, stunned. Elias whispered behind her. Lyra. You shielded both of us. Lyra looked at her glowing hands. I protected someone. Her voice was soft, almost disbelieving. The king stared at her glowing shield, unable to hide the fear now spreading across his face. But before anyone could speak, a deep explosion echoed from outside the palace. The ground shook violently. A soldier rushed inside. Your Majesty, he shouted. The Void Reapers. These were only scouts. The main army has arrived. The king's face drained of color. Lyra and Elias exchanged a single look. This battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. The palace shook again, harder than before. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ancient pillars cracked. The air trembled with the sound of thousands of marching metal feet. The main Void Reaper army had arrived. The elite soldiers in the hall panicked. Something they had never done in front of their king. My king, one soldier stuttered. The Reapers are not attacking the palace walls. They are melting through them. Another guard shouted. They want the princess. They are coming straight for her energy signal. King Vorez's expression twisted with fear and rage. Lyra stood still, her hands glowing softly. For the first time, she wasn't trembling, but her eyes were filled with guilt. This is my fault, she whispered. Elias stepped toward her immediately. No, this is not your fault. Lyra shook her head, tears forming. They're here because of me. They're destroying my city, my people. She stared at the walls, her breath unsteady. If they take my power, the galaxy will suffer. Elias placed himself directly in front of her. You don't face this alone. You never did, not anymore. Her glow steadied. Her fear turned into determination. Then boom. A huge section of the wall exploded inward. Burning metal flew across the floor. A massive, towering Void Reaper leader stepped through the smoke, far larger than the others. Its voice echoed like thunder. Princess Lyra. Core energy required. Surrender. Lyra gasped. The air around her flickered. Elias stepped in front of her again, raising his weapon. The king shouted, "Protect the princess!" But the soldiers didn't move. They were terrified. The Reaper leader took one heavy step forward. The ground cracked. The king barked again. Louder, protect her. Still, the soldiers froze. Elias realized the truth instantly. Nobody in this kingdom was brave enough to face the Reapers. Except Lyra, and maybe him. The king makes a cruel decasion. King Vorez suddenly turned to Elias, face dark with fear. You, human, take her and run. Lyra stiffened. What? Elias asked. The king's voice shook. If they want her power, give them distance. Give us time to escape. Lyra's heart shattered. He was sacrificing her. Again. Just like always. Father. She whispered, voice cracking. You're abandoning me again? The king swallowed but said nothing. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not of fear this time, but deep, cutting hurt. Elias stepped forward, furious. No, we won't run. The king glared at him. You'll doom us all. No, Elias said firmly. You doomed her by calling her weak all her life. Lyra lowered her head, but then she straightened, and for the first time ever, she spoke to her father with strength. I'm not running. The king froze. Lyra sighed, wiping her tears with one glowing hand. All my life I was scared of myself. You made me fear my gift, and because of that, the galaxy now fears me too. The king stepped back, shame flickering in his eyes. Lyra continued, but I'm done being afraid. She turned to Elias. You said I could control it. You believed in me when no one else did. Eliza nodded softly. You can do this, I'm right here. Lyra closed her eyes, breathed, and when she opened them again, her glow was brighter than ever, not wild, not dangerous, not unstable, awakened. The first true awakening begins. The Void Reaper leader raised its giant arm. Targeting Lyra, Elias stood beside her, not in front of her, not behind her, beside her. Lyra, he said quietly, focus your power into the center of your chest, not your hands, your core. She nodded. Her hands lowered. Her chest began to glow slowly at first, then brighter, warmer, stronger. Energy ripples danced across her skin like living light. The Reaper leader aimed its weapon. Lyra whispered, guide me. I'm here, Elias said. The beam fired. The attack roared through the hall, but Lyra raised her hand at the perfect moment. A massive shield of shimmering light burst out of her. Not small, not weak, not panicked, a full-body shield, large, enough to cover half the hall. The Reaper's attack smashed into it, but didn't break through. Elias stared, shocked. Lyra, you're doing it. This is real control. Lyra's eyes were glowing bright aqua. I feel it, she whispered. It's not burning. It's flowing. Her hair floated upwards. Her scars glowed like stars. Her entire body hummed with pure power. The Reaper snarled. Core overcharge. Detected. Cannot capture. Must terminate. Lyra took a step forward. No, she said softly. You will not hurt my people. The shield turned into a glowing wave. Energy rippled outward. It hit the Reaper leader hard, slamming it into the far wall, cracking its armor open. Lyra stared at her hands, tears in her eyes. I did it. I really did it. Elias smiled proudly. You're awakening, Lyra. This is only the beginning. But the Reaper leader rose again, sparking, damaged but still alive. Its voice growled. Initiating Plan B, full assault. Behind it, thousands of red lights activated in the darkness. Lyra's glow flickered just a little. Elias stepped closer. To her, don't panic. I'm not, she whispered, and she wasn't. Not anymore. Suddenly, a massive shadow moved behind the Reaper army. Something huge. Something ancient. Something alive. Even the king looked terrified. Elias whispered, What is that? Lyra's voice trembled, not with fear, but recognition. That is the creature my power awakened long ago. The entire hall shook as the monster roared, and the final battle was about to begin. The entire palace trembled, walls cracked. Statues fell. Dust filled the air. Behind the Void Reaper army, a giant shadow moved. A creature so large that the hall barely contained its presence. 8 glowing eyes opened in the darkness. A long serpentine body uncoiled. Blue flames danced across its skin. It looked like a mix of beast, energy, and storm. Elias whispered, What is that thing? Lyra's voice was almost a whisper. I created it. Elias looked at her sharply. You created that? Lyra nodded, guilt washing over her face. When my powers exploded the valley, my energy mixed with the old ruins. It formed a living beast, a creature born from my fear. The monster roared a sound that shook every bone in Elias's body. The Void Reapers turned away from Lyra and aimed all their weapons at the monster instead. The leader shouted, New target confirmed. Energy beast. terminately. Thousands of red lights fired, beams, missiles, shock waves. The monster screamed as metal and explosions hit its body. Lyra gasped, feeling the pain as if it were her own. "It's hurting," she whispered, "because it's connected to me." Elias turned to her, eyes fierce. "Then you have to control it." "Not with fear, with strength." Lyra stared at him, eyes wide. I don't know how." "Yes, you do," Elias said softly. "You controlled yourself. Now control your creation." Lyra looked at her glowing hands. They were shaking again, not from fear, from responsibility. She stepped forward. "I won't let it die. It was born from my fear, but I won't let it die in fear." Eliza stood beside her. "I'm with you." She raised her hands, energy flowing, light pulsing through the hall. The monster stopped thrashing. Its 8 glowing eyes turned toward Lyra. It recognized her. Its creator, its heart. Lyra whispered, "Calm, calm here." The creature lowered its head. Trembling, the Reapers fired again. Lyra cried out, feeling the pain through the bond. Elias gritted his teeth. "Lyra, now guide it." She inhaled deeply. Her glow intensified, bright, pure, overwhelming. She lifted her hands and made a sweeping motion. A huge wave of light exploded from her. But not destructively. It moved like water, like gentle air, like healing. The monster absorbed the light, its wounds closing, its blue flames turning brighter. The Reapers froze. Their scanners malfunctioned. Energy unreadable, energy unstoppable. Lyra's voice echoed across the hall. "You are not a monster. You are mine. Protect us." The beast turned toward the Reapers and unleashed a roar that shattered the air. Huge tidal wave of blue flame swept through the hall. The Void Reapers melted instantly, turning into ash, metal, and broken circuits. The Reaper leader tried to escape, but the monster crushed it with one massive strike. Silence. Only the sound of the creature. Breathing remained. Lyra collapsed to her knees. Her glow dimmed. She used too much energy. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. "You did it," he whispered. "You controlled it all." Lyra opened her eyes weakly. "Elias." "I'm tired." "You're safe," he said softly. "You're more powerful than you ever knew." The monster curled around Lyra protectively, like a guardian waiting for its queen to command it again. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. The king's final realization. King Vorus stepped forward slowly, chest rising and falling, eyes wide with shock. He looked at the monster, then at Lyra, then at Elias. For the first time, he looked at his daughter with fear and pride together. "Lyra," he whispered, You saved us all." Lyra looked at him with tired eyes. "I didn't save you alone," she said softly. "I had help." Her gaze moved to Elias. The king followed her eyes. Something in his expression broke, not anger, not pride, something older. Regret. He bowed his head slightly. "I was wrong," he said. "You are not broken. You never were." Lyra closed her eyes in relief. Elias held her up. The monster curled tighter, protecting both of them. The end, but also a BGI. Elias lifted Lyra gently. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm scared," she whispered weakly. He smiled. "It's okay to be scared, but now you know. You're strong even when you're scared." Lyra smiled faintly, and for the first time in her entire life, she believed him. The camera, in your YouTube video style, would fade out on the image of a human holding a glowing princess. A monster born from her fear, now guarding her. And a king finally understanding the daughter he never knew. A perfect HFY ending.